Okay, so yeah, OpenAI. I think that this is one of the greatest companies that's ever been made. And let me just look at a couple messages I have. OpenAI is maybe the best startup of all time. you know, at least top five. So it's very hard to criticize the company and its management. I'm a results driven person. So when people criticize OpenAI, it's really bizarre to me because it's like, well, maybe if you're Bill Gates or like Sergey Brin or someone, you could criticize OpenAI, but it's pretty difficult to. You got to have a lot of chutzpah to sort of say, oh, OpenAI is doing something wrong or this or that. When you get to from zero to almost 200 billion in a couple of years, you really can't fault any decision. Um, Obviously, like all companies, they've had their challenges, and a lot of their challenges sort of have ended up in the newspaper, which is a um, bizarre circumstance. But I think that the company kind of going back to for profit and the company sticking to the traditional business sort of paradigm, makes sense for them to do. And I think Sam should have equity in the company. It doesn't make sense that he doesn't. Shareholders want that. What you want, you're not a part of this. Stockholders of OpenAI want the leader of OpenAI to be incentivized. That makes sense. There's nothing wrong with that. Sam is the leader of the company. There's no doubt about that. If you have a doubt about that, hopefully you don't have a doubt today. And ultimately, he has led a company that has done amazing things. Whether it's O1, GPT in the first place, the business deals that they have with other businesses like Microsoft and Apple are nothing short of incredible. If you put GPT in my lap, I'm not sure I could have pulled all that off. I'm not sure you could have pulled all that off. This is an incredible tale of execution. The API business was execution. The consumer product was execution, which wasn't even intended. Good management finds ways to get these call options, and they've missed on a couple call options. The agents and they started off in RL and didn't really do much in RL other than laboratory work. And now, it's this massive business, and you can't ignore that. These things are just going to come around by accident. And, it's really incredible work. In terms of people leaving, now, if you've ever managed a company, the turnover here is a little higher than normal. They'll certainly acknowledge that. But at the end of the day, there's a couple things I'll say here. I don't want to offend anybody, but I probably will. The first thing I'd say is there's a very different staff required for a billion-dollar company. For a startup, $1 billion company, and $100 billion company. Probably every order of magnitude requires pretty different people typically. There are atypical situations like Facebook, which had a good CEO throughout, but even with Zuck, you noticed there were some transitions there that were difficult. It was hard for him to go from sort of PR Zuck to mega cap Zuck. And now he's sort of startup Zuck to PR Zuck was a difficult transition. PR Zuck to mega cap Zuck was really difficult. And now he's sort of transcending from mega cap Zuck to like based Zuck. And the point is that, most companies would have had 3 or 4 different CEOs, but he had this sort of super voting share. So, ultimately, yeah, founder mode is kind of the way to look at it for sure. But the people at the company who have accomplished a lot of them are now millionaires, billionaires. Someone like Amira is probably worth hundreds of millions of dollars, if not more. And others at the company, congratulate Barrett on his next steps and many others. Like, these are really brilliant people that have changed the world. And whether the initiation of the leaving comes from them or comes from management, it doesn't really matter. People are going to be fine, very rich. They got almost, I don't know, generational wealth. The resume is about as good as it gets. And if management initiates the transition, ultimately it might be because that person may not be the kind of person that either wants to be subconsciously or not at a large entity, a $100 billion company. It's a lot less fun. Startups are fun. Being at a $100, $200 million company dealing with compliance is not fun. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. So I think that, people do change after they make hundreds of millions of dollars. And quite frankly, I do think that sometimes you need to be ahead of that change. I've seen a lot of people, once even they make a couple $1,000,000, they start to change the way their lifestyle works, can get to their head. And you really don't want executives like that. I can't imagine what it's like to have a $1 billion not go to your head. Sam's going to be worth 10, 15, $20 billion very soon. He's already very wealthy. So for him, I think it's less of a change. But for a lot of the other people at OpenAI, it can't be easy as management to manage through that transition of folks making tons of money, especially if they took some money off the table in the secondary and stuff like that. So a bunch of people, I'd say, would have thought about, okay, well, here's a bunch of money in the secondary, maybe I'll put 25 million in the bank or whatever. And, my urgency has changed. O1 is out, Voice is out. We shipped the best products anybody's ever seen in tech. Life-changing, world-changing products. You got Biden telling the UN the world will never be the same. It's true. So, nobody should be criticizing the company. Like Gary Marcus's stupid ass. It's like, what's going on at this company? Bro, it's none of your fucking business, first of all. You're not a stockholder. They've done an amazing job. You haven't done shit. So shut your mouth. 2, if these people want to leave and start a new challenge, maybe take a couple of years off after, what mountain do you have left to climb? A lot of people work for the challenge. A lot of people work for the money. A lot of people don't work for either of those. But the point is that for some people, I don't have names specifically, but I can just imagine from my own experience, some people might say, look, I've made a fortune. I'm 35, I'm 40, whatever it is. Maybe I'm 30. I want to start a new chapter in my life where I do something else. Start a family. I've been working midnight till midnight every night, 7 days a week. I need a break. I ship somebody else can run my little division or whatever it is. There's a million qualified people out there. And I made this money, nobody can take it away. I want to try something else. So I've been here 5, 6, 7 years. This totally makes sense. And I think the question should be asked of everyone every year in performance reviews and stuff like that. I think that the problem is people will want to leave consciously or subconsciously, and they don't for years at a time. I'm thinking about retiring, this and that. It's like, look, if you're thinking about retiring, just do it. We're a high-performance organization. Time to do something else. And I think that kind of approach is probably one the best managements take. For example, I think like OpenAI, and make no mistake, despite some public gaffes and stuff like that, this is one of the best managements in the business. And, I think Sam's ambition is no less than the biggest company in the world. And I think he'll get it. So I would be long OpenAI, and I expect you'll see an IPO in a couple of years, to be frank. And you might have the first $1 trillion IPO. I think it's hard to manage this kind of a company. It's very demanding. And, some new blood always helps. You want people that have been around and understand everything too. Some of the extremely smart people there. But, the company will be fine. and the products will continue to be great. And again, this, this 1,000-person company, a couple of people leaving, including all the senior management. I do this funny thing where I want you to go back to the Amazon.com 2002 10K and look at the entire management team. Tell me if you recognize one of them. Yeah, go back 2002 Amazon 10K. You won't recognize a single person except for Jeff Bezos. Didn't stop Amazon from hitting $1 trillion plus. So I think, the talent there is incredible, and, it'll continue to be so. And you don't get a company with great talent by accident. You get it by creating a great culture, by having great management and delivering the goods. And, I expect there'll be plenty of people at OpenAI who have been there for a long time. So the one thing I think most Silicon Valley's guys are going to learn, if they haven't learned it already, is if they need capital, there's nothing like the IPO. IPOs are, the cheapest cost of capital and the best way to sort of do well. Anyway, that's really that. Chat is not broken in Godel. I am using it right now. So let's look at Cloudflare. But yeah, that's all I have to really say about OpenAI. It's a remarkable company. There really is nothing like it. And Monday morning quarterbacking that kind of success is kind of absurd. Yeah, it doesn't take much to stop futility. If it takes a lot to stop a futility, depending on what your futility analysis threshold is. You could set the threshold at really, really crazy. If a drug doesn't work, usually it's the same as placebo.